Hi folks, and welcome back to the channel. Today we are looking at this rather impressive mechanical chronograph homage watch from Chinese brand Sugess. Now this is my first watch from Sugess, so let's have a look at it together and see how it fares. So without any further ado, let's get into the review. Just quickly before we begin the review, for any of you who haven't subscribed to the channel, please do take a moment and hit that subscribe button. By doing this, you really do help to boost the channel and it really does mean a lot. Let's cover off the dimensions for you first of all. So we have a 40mm case width on this one, 13mm thickness, 20mm lugs, and a slightly larger lug to lug distance of 51mm. I'll come back to that a little bit later on in the video. On its supplied croc strap, this one weighing in at 95 grams. So cost for this one, I paid $199 US, equivalent to approximately £150. Timekeeping, the Seagull ST1901 keeping a very respectable plus 6 seconds a day gain over 24 hours. Now I purchased this one direct from Seestern's own website. It is an excellent site. I have mentioned them before, I've bought from them before. Go and check them out. They have a number of different watches and models available. I'll leave a link in the description down below. So as I mentioned in the introduction, this is actually a homage watch. Now it's a homage to a limited edition Breitling Top Time Deus watch. Now when I purchased this watch, I had no idea it was a homage. It turns out I don't know very much about limited edition Breitlings. Now I bought it because I liked the styling, I liked the look of it, it was something a little bit different. After I had purchased the watch, I was waiting for it to arrive from Seestern, and in between times I was checking out some YouTubers that I follow. Now a YouTuber in question called Sirwatchgeek, he actually has the limited edition Breitling Top Time, and it wasn't until I watched his video about the Breitling that I realised I had purchased the homage watch of it. Now, as an aside, I will leave a link to Sirwatchgeek's channel down below. His videos are excellent, his channel is excellent. Please do go and check him out. So I had purchased a homage. I was not bothered by that at all. Obviously, finding out that it was a homage, I can see where it gets all its design cues from. So let's go on to the packaging then. So the packaging from Sugess, nice box, usual contents, instructions, warranty card, etc. Now this one comes supplied on a black crocodile style leather strap. Now I've got no issues with it. Sometimes the supplied leather straps with some watches can be pretty rubbish. This one is actually pretty good. It's reasonable quality. I think after you broke it in after a few days it would be pretty comfy. For me personally, this is a 20mm lug width watch, so I have got a few 20mm lug width straps in my box, and this one I thought was pretty perfect. Black leather with cream stitching to match the cream dial, so this is the one I'll be wearing it on. Now another nice touch from Sugess is that they actually included a mesh bracelet for the watch as well, so free of charge. Nice quick release spring bars on the mesh, so a nice addition there from Sugess. So the case on this one, a solid 316L stainless steel case, very nice case shape on this, and it also has a very nice level of finishing. The polishing is done very nicely, beautiful sharp lines to the case, very well done, and also a really nice star design, some nice detail there on the crown. Now while we're talking about the case, I will show you a quick wrist shot. Now I have 7.5-inch wrists for your reference, and as I mentioned earlier, that larger lug to lug measurement of 51mm, it's not even an issue for me. I think this watch wears really beautifully. It has a lovely case shape, and those slightly curved lugs means that it wears very well. Now the crystal on this one, covering that dial, we have a lovely domed sapphire crystal. Now the crystal does have some anti-reflective coating on the underside. It does work very nicely and it shows off the dial perfectly, and the crystal doing a really good job. There is virtually no distortion at extreme angles. Very nice crystal on this one. And of course the dial. Now the dial, as I mentioned, I bought the dial because I liked it. It was quirky, it was a little bit different, and then of course later found out it was a homage, and it is of course very close to the design element of the Breitling itself. Nice detail, lovely applied baton markers that catch the light beautifully. Now the colourway itself, I admit, is a little bit Marmite. You're either going to love it or you're going to hate it. I really like it. It's a little bit different. I love the base dial colour, that cream dial. It's a little bit less harsh than some of the pure white dial chronographs that you see. It changes light in different conditions. It looks very nice in my opinion, and I like the colourway, the yellow hands, the splash of yellow, the splash of orange. I really like it. It's something a little bit different, without being garish. I don't think. It's a little bit quirky and a little bit individual. Now the only thing that I'm not particularly keen on is that font that they have used on the dial. Now I don't mind the Sugess logo, that is absolutely fine, but the mechanical chronograph writing there, I don't know, on very close inspection I think they could have used a slightly nicer font. And of course we have to talk about that movement. So this uses the Seagull ST1901 chronograph movement. Many refer to it as being the same as the vintage Venus 175 Swiss movement. Now Sugess in the advert call this an ST19 Tianjin movement, and they are completely correct. To take you back of the history, just a little tiny bit of the history of this movement, back in the late 50s, 60s, Seagull bought everything from the Venus watch company. They bought the machines, the blueprints, everything that was used to produce the Venus 175 chronograph movement. And after making some improvements, such as more jewels, slightly better power reserves, little tweaks here and there, Seagull's ST1901 is essentially a Chinese-made Venus 175. And just look at it. It is truly a thing of beauty. Now, this particular movement also has the addition of a rather nice Swaneck regulator. It is located on the balance cock there, making regulating the time so much easier if you're feeling brave enough to have a go at that. Now, these movements have been criticised by a number of people. They have been criticised for things like having a poor level of finishing, having questionable levels of performance. I've heard some people even claiming that the performance from these Seagull ST movements are even a bit of potluck. I can only tell you that I have had a number of these movements, and I have never had an issue with them. Sure, the finishing isn't perfect. This is not a Patek Philippe, and the movement at some point may require a service, of course, but I think it is well worth the price of admission to have this wonderful slice of mechanical horological history on your wrist. So what would be the verdict? Well, I'm going to cut right to the chase on this one. I love it. I think you are getting an excellent movement. I love the history. That exhibition case back showing it off really beautifully there. I love the styling. As I've went through, this is a homage and I really like the styling on this one. The level of finishing is excellent. It is very nicely finished indeed. And of course the price. This is £150, folks. $199. Wow, that is a very good bang for your buck. Now the negatives, I'm not too keen on that font they have used for the mechanical chronograph wording on the dial, and indeed that font seems to be echoed on the case back there. It's just purely subjective, it's just a personal thing. I would rather they had went with a different font, but of course not a deal breaker. And of course the advert, now Seestern's own advert for this Sugess watch is a tiny bit misleading. It's got the wrong jewel count, it doesn't have 29 jewels, it's much more likely to have 23, and of course it's not a flat sapphire, it is domed. Now I'm saying it's a little misleading, it is probably just simply an error on their part. But I think looking at this as a whole, this watch has bags of wrist presence. It has that classically bold twin register chronograph dial design. It's interesting, it's something a little bit different from my own personal norm. I usually gravitate towards dive watches, and of course we have that wonderful chronograph movement, first made by the Swiss and then back to Chinese manufacture of what is essentially still the same design some 70 to 80 years later. Excellent history there. And then of course there's the price, $200, £150, wow, amazing value for money. I would say that this certainly does look, it wears, it feels, and it has the horological resume of a much more expensive watch. So I say if you're on the fence about this one, give it a try, folks. There's lots of different dial colour layout designs from a few different companies. Give one of these little chronographs a try, the most famous of which of course is that 1963 Chinese Air Force reissue, again Seagull powered with the same movement. Give one a try, they are excellent. I really do like this little Sugess Breitling Homage. So as always folks, thank you so much for making it to the end of the video. Please do remember and subscribe to the channel if you haven't done so already, and I will see you in the next review.